Merhaba arkadaşlar. Hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün ABD'nin en iyilerinden Kent State University'de yüksek lisans ve doktora programlarını Salma'dan dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı questions kısmından sormayı unutmayın. Yes, Salma, the stage is yours now.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am very happy to join you again for a second time to do an IEFT webinar. Turkey is one of the places that we always travel to, and because of Corona, we're unable to be with you. So I would like to thank IEFT for allowing us to stay connected with our Turkish students and Turkish people in general and tell them a little bit more about our university. So for today's presentation, I would like to give some general information about to students who are thinking about applying for master's and doctoral programs or PhD programs in the United States. What are the admission requirements? How can you make your file competitive, etc.? And I'll give some information about Kent State, but a lot of this information will be applicable to all universities or most universities in the US. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I will share my slide. Okay, great. And so, again, for today's agenda, I will provide a brief overview of Kent State University. Then I will talk about some of the steps of the application process for graduate students. How do you select your program? How do you find out about requirements? And what is all needed as you are thinking about applying for master's and PhDs in the United States? So briefly, some facts about Kent State. So we are located in the city of Kent in Ohio. So we're in a small town that's very green, a lot of trees. So you get a very small, very friendly, very safe environment, but at the same time, you're very close to a lot of different cities such as Chicago, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Cleveland, etc. And so the cost of living in Kent is 88% cheaper than New York City. So definitely you get a lot of value for your money. Some of our popular and prestigious majors are aeronautics, architecture, biology, business administration, computer science, entrepreneurship, fashion design and fashion merchandising, interior design, as well as nutrition. We do have over 28,000 students that are enrolled at Kent, so it's a very large university, and we have about 1,500 international students that come from 100 countries. We offer 25 residence halls, 12 residential learning communities, and 22 on-campus eateries or restaurants. Once again, we're a very safe, secure campus, and I think this is really important as people think about moving to another country and establishing themselves in a different environment. So we are in the top 25 for safety in the whole United States. We have our police patrol, a Kent State University patrol that is around campus 24/7. We also have a lot of security aides that, let's say if you're studying really late at the library, because our library is open very late and sometimes it's open 24/7 during exam times, you can have a security aide walk you to your dorm. So now, after giving you the brief overview about Kent State, I really want to spend a lot of time giving general information about considerations when you're applying for graduate school in the United States. So one of the first steps that you should follow is selecting your program. what is it that you would like to study in the US, and also which universities have your program. A lot of times students will maybe have a university in their mind. They have a dream to attend a university. However, maybe that university does not have the subject that you're interested in studying. So always make sure that you identify the subjects you want to study, then the university. And also, what are the requirements for the program? Each university may have different requirements for the program. So depending on what your skills are, what your performance is in school, what your English proficiency is, one university's requirement may match yours better, and you may have better chances of getting admitted. Sometimes you may have better chances of getting scholarships as well. So always apply to a couple of universities. Don't just apply to one university when you're a graduate student, because there is a chance sometimes that you may not be admitted. And so a lot of times with requirements, you have to think about the program. Is this program that at this university good? Are they accredited? What is the timeline? Do they offer a start in the fall and in the spring, or do they only offer a start once a year? So you have to wait maybe another year to be able to start, or you can start 2 times or 3 times a year. And also, how long will it take? Some master's programs in the US typically are 2 years, but there is more and more of a trend where you may find some 1-year programs or 1.5-year programs. For instance, we have a 1-year MBA program, and MBAs used to be more traditionally 2 years. Also, other requirements such as admission tests. At the graduate level, many programs and many schools will require proof of English proficiency, and a lot of times they will ask for TOEFL, they will ask for IELTS. A lot of universities right now, because of the pandemic, are also accepting the Duolingo English test. And so that's another test that you could use to prove your English proficiency. Additionally, as a master's and PhD student, applying in the United States, this is something very particular or specific to the United States, is the GRE or GMAT exam. So a GRE and GMAT exam are standardized tests that are in the United States only. So American students wanting to apply for master's or doctoral programs have to take them, as well as international students. And so a lot of our international students sometimes, have not heard about the GRE before, and so they're a little bit nervous about these exams. I would have to say that at least at Kent State University and many other universities in the United States, because of the pandemic and people not being able to access the tests in person at the GRE, have waived the GRE requirement. So right now is a really good time to apply if you do not want to take the GRE or the GMAT exam. And typically the GRE will have a math component, an analytical skill component, and then a reading and writing and comprehension component. And the GMAT is more for students who are applying for MBAs or PhD in business. So it also has that analytic and reading and comprehension, but it's more geared towards business. Of course, at the graduate level, one of the requirements that you will also see that you should be prepared for is providing letters of recommendations. And so some programs may require 2 letters of recommendations. Some of them may require 3 letters of recommendations. And I'll spend a little bit more time on letters of recommendations in another slide. And then, of course, you will also be required to submit a goal statement or a statement of purpose. So these are things, regardless of what university you apply for in the United States, chances are they will ask you for a combination of these things. And of course, your transcript. So they want to see how you did in your bachelor's degree in your home. And if you're applying for a PhD, they will also want to see that you have a master's degree and how well you did. Most of the time at the graduate level, the GPA has to be about a 3.0 out of 4 to be admissible. Some universities will look at 2.7 out of 4, but you do have to have a B or higher typically to be selected for graduate school. Some programs also may offer or require interviews, that you have to interview with the committee and before they can review your file and present you with admission. And of course, some things that you should still consider and think about is the program curriculum. Most of the American schools will list all the classes by major. Let's see, you want to study business and you want to study management. You can see all the courses that you will take your first year, your second year, and so on. And once you look at that curriculum, you can see, does this interest me or not? Because business can sometimes vary from one university to another. Faculty is also very important at the graduate level because you have to do research. Most of the time you have to do a thesis or a dissertation and do some original research or some collaboration with faculty. So it might be really important, especially at the doctoral level, to look at the faculty for the program that you're applying to and see which faculty matches your research interest so that you can connect with them. You definitely want to have that similar interest because they could be your advisor, and you will know that you will learn a lot in that program in the area of research that interests you. Looking at program reputation, again, there's a lot of rankings, but also just looking at whether you know some people, some students, some of your friends or family who have graduated from that program or graduated from that school. Another factor is looking at cost. Sometimes, you know, you may be really interested in one school, but maybe their cost is out of your price range or out of your budget. So you may need to adjust and have another school or find another school that more closely aligns with your budget. You also want to look at campus facilities. Do they have research labs? Do they have libraries? What are the resources that are available to you? You really want to focus on getting the best value for your investment. And of course, something that you should ask for is, what career services do they provide? What are the job prospects after graduation? Because after all, getting a degree, the purpose of the degree long-term is to be able to open doors for your future, for your career, for research, etc. So always making sure to ask about what is the employment rate, and do they provide any career fairs, any internship placements, any co-ops, and any support after graduation. And of course, being international students, it's really important as well to consider when you're selecting a school, what type of support do they offer for international students? Is there an office dedicated to supporting international students with immigration, with job petitions, with cultural shock, with sharing their culture with Americans, connecting them, expanding their network, and also advocating for them and making them feel welcome? So these are all a lot of different factors that you should consider before selecting the best schools or the best fit schools for you to apply to. And so going back to letters of recommendations, I get a lot of questions when I'm meeting with prospective students internationally where they may be confused about letters of recommendations. So something that I always advise students is only request letters of recommendations from people who know you well enough. Sometimes people just reach out to someone that they don't even know and say, hey, can you be a recommender for me? They will not submit a strong enough recommendation, or they may even say, no, I don't know you well enough. So typically try to find a professor in the field that you've worked with. Try to find maybe a supervisor or a colleague from a job, a dean of a college that you've worked with that will say good things about you. If you took a class and failed it, do not list that professor as your recommendation. And of course, when you ask someone to write a recommendation letter, let's say you ask a former professor or current professor to write a letter of recommendation for you, make their job easier and make it easy for them to provide a lot of details on that recommendation letter, because when the letters are very general, it may hurt your chances of getting admitted. So make sure that you provide the recommender copies of your resume or CV, and also provide them with your goal statement or statement of purpose, so they can take some of that information and incorporate it in that letters of recommendation so that it's stronger and it just seems that, you know, they really, really know you and they know what your career and aspirations are. And so once again, always make sure that you ask people who know you, that are professors, current employers, internship supervisors. Do not ask your mom, dad, brother, sister, or friends. We do get those and I see them all the time, but they're really looking at professional recommendations for someone who can speak to your ability to be successful in school. And going back again, I do want to spend some more time on admission tests. So there are a lot of tests to provide English proficiency. Most universities will not force you to take the TOEFL or to only take the IELTS. They usually will accept a wide range of scores, and you can select which one maybe fits your budget, which one you're doing better at. Some students don't do well in TOEFL, but they do well in IELTS and vice versa. So make sure that you take practice tests and find the test that works for you. Currently, the Duolingo English test has been gaining a lot of popularity because you can take it from your home anytime, anywhere. There is no waiting, and it's significantly cheaper than other tests. So if budget is of a concern for you, this would be a good opportunity. And once again, the GRE exam, which stands for Graduate Record Examination, and the GMAT exam is the Graduate Management Admission Test. These, again, if you apply for other universities outside of the US, they will not ask you for these things. These are very specific. Of course, some other disciplines. So if you're applying for law school in the US, you will need the LSAT, the Law School Admission Test. If you're applying for medical school in the US, you will need Medical College Admission Test, or MCAT. And of course, pharmacy college also has a pharmacy college admission test. And these law school, medical school, and pharmacy, they're called professional degrees. And that's usually why you have to have a qualifying exam for these. And so I want to spend a little bit of time on goal statement, or you may hear the word statement of purpose. They're both used interchangeably and essentially mean the exact same thing. So most of the graduate programs want you to write an essay, which is called a goal statement or statement of purpose, where you talk to them about yourself, your education track so far, and why is it that you would like to apply to this graduate program? Why are you applying for a PhD in physics? What are you hoping to do with it? What do you bring to this program? Why should they select you? So typically with statement of purpose and goal statements, you will see two types. You will either see a general one, or you will be asked to respond to a specific question. Most of the time, a goal statement will be very general, and you just need to cover, you know, your background up to this point, and what are you hoping to do with this degree after? What do you think your research interests will be, etc. Response to a specific question, the program will ask you, specific questions, either 1 or 2, or I've seen it where it was 3 questions, and you have to respond to them and address them in your goal statement. So always pay attention and make sure. And then another piece of advice that we see all the time is, of course, students apply to multiple schools, which we recommend because you want to increase your chances of getting the best offer. But make sure that you change your goal statement based on the school and the program you're applying to. A lot of students will forget, they're rushing and in a hurry, and they may apply to another university with the goal statement that they wrote for Kent State, and then the goal statement will say, I'm applying to Kent State University, but they're applying to another university. And that, in some instances, may cost you your admission. Some programs really get irritated by this and may say, you know, if this person didn't even change the name of the university, they must not want to really come to our university, so we will not admit them. So always be very specific. It's a lot of work, but make sure that you're detailed oriented, and definitely change the name of the school and change some things to tailor them based on the school that you're applying to. And of course, be straightforward. So goal statements really should not exceed 1 or 2 pages max. This is not a dissertation. You don't need to write 4 or 5 pages. You want to be very straightforward in your writing. You want to tell them why you're pursuing the graduate program. You want to speak to the area of study which you specialize in or your research. You want to address how prepared you are for the program and how well you believe you will fit in the program. And really, for your goal statement, it's your chance to shine. Especially as an international student, you cannot meet with the department, or you cannot come to visit them. It's a little bit hard. So it's your chance for them to feel like they know you. Because a lot of times they just look at your transcript, they look at your resume, everything is kind of dry. So this is your chance to really add anything that may not transpire in your application, and to make them feel that they know you as well. And one last thing, I know in many cultures, it's not okay to brag about yourself. We have to be very humble in talking about ourselves. But when you're writing a goal statement and when you're applying to school in the United States, it's really your time to shine. It's really your time to brag about yourself and about your accomplishment. No one is going to think that you need to be more humble. This is really, they want to know what you can do. So don't be shy. And of course, with application types, you have different tracks. Some students are considering a master's degree, some are considering a doctorate degree. Typically, for a master's degree, you must have the equivalent of a US bachelor's degree. If you're applying for a doctoral degree, you typically have to have a bachelor's and a master's degree that are equivalent to a US degree. Some programs that we have at Kent State and also at other schools may allow a student to apply for a doctoral degree without a master's degree. So that will save time and money. So that's possible, but it's not very common. Some programs may offer that, and typically the information will be available on their website. And so most of the time with admission requirements, there will be an online application. There will be an application fee. For instance, at Kent State University, when you complete the online application, you have to pay a $70 application fee. The $70 application fee at Kent State, we use it to do our credential evaluation, to review your transcripts and convert your grades in terms of US GPA. And so it's a way for us to not require you to spend a few $100s for WES or ECE or outside credential evaluation. Of course, the GPA, again, can vary by program. Most of the US schools will do a 3.0. You need your English proficiency, and English proficiency minimum will vary by program. What you will notice is if you're applying for something like math, for instance, that may not be as writing intensive, their English proficiency requirement may be lower than, let's say, if you apply for translation or public health, where it's very writing intensive in English. And I do want to kind of give you a process, the application process in the United States once you submit your application, kind of what happens behind the scene. So of course, the admission office will receive your application and they will check for completeness. Make sure that nothing is missing. If everything is there and your file is complete, they will perform a credential evaluation. They have to convert your Lisans and all your grades, you know, from the Turkish system to the American system. Some universities will ask you to actually complete an evaluation by hiring a company and paying a few $100s to provide that evaluation from the outside. At Kent State, we try to make it easy and we do everything in-house. We're all trained on credential evaluation. Then the application gets reviewed. So typically the admission teams will review it and then they will send it to the academic department. So if you're applying for a PhD in physics, your application will go to the physics program for them to review. And then typically in the review process at the graduate level, there are two types of review. Some programs will review on a rolling basis. So when people apply, they'll review them right away within a few weeks and let them know a decision, while other programs may have a deadline. They will wait until, let's say, February 1st and then review everybody. So if you apply early, it increases your chance of being admitted, but you also may wait a little bit longer than usual because they're waiting until a certain day to review everybody. So make sure that you ask about that decision process and how long does it take. Of course, then once the department reviews, and some have committees, a group of faculty that review, and some have just one person that reviews. So once the decision is processed, the communication is then sent to the applicant, a decision, whether they're admitted fully, whether they're admitted with conditions, or whether they are denied. And typically, there isn't a lot of information on denials in the denial letter. So if you would like to know why you got denied, you have to reach out to the academic department and ask them. And this is not something that is frowned upon to do in the United States. It's okay if you get a rejection letter to reach out to the department and ask politely why you got rejected, and do they have any advice for you to make your application stronger. Maybe you might be interested in reapplying again, and you know you don't want to do the same thing and get rejected again. So you want to get some ideas and suggestions on how you can make your application better and more competitive. And of course, because most of you are international students, once you are admitted, I want to just give you a clear, concise overview of the I-20 and immigration process. And this is very consistent, not just for Kent State, but for most American universities. So in order for us to issue you an I-20 or certificate of eligibility for you to apply for your F1 student visa, the first thing is you must get an admission letter. We get a lot of inquiries that will say, I want an I-20, but they have not even applied or gotten admitted. So the first step for an I-20 is to be admitted to a school or university. Then you must submit proof of finances. So because you're coming on a student visa, the US immigration regulation is that you cannot work outside. You can only work on campus, or you can only work after graduation. So the duration of your status as a student, you must have enough
Evet arkadaşlar, Salma bağlantısını kaybetti. Yeniden bağlanana kadar biraz beklemenizi rica ediyorum. Yes, hi Selma.
Am I back now?
Yes, welcome back.
Thank you. Okay, did I lose you on the I-20 process?
Yes.
Perfect, okay. We're almost there. Hopefully it doesn't. Sorry guys, close your eyes so you don't get dizzy. All right, here we are again. Sorry, I lost you there. So yeah, so of course for the I-20 process, you must be admitted first, and then you must submit proof of finances and your passport biodata. Some students, because they're doctoral students or master's students, they have their spouses, their wife or husband and children, and they would like to bring them with them to the US. That is perfectly acceptable, and we are happy to support that process. Of course, with bringing dependents in the US, you also must demonstrate that you're able to take care of their expenses while they're living with you, because it does increase your expenses. So as long as you show proof of finances that can cover them as well, then you will be okay. And you don't need to show a lot, because you already have to show an amount for yourself, for your housing, etc. So then our offices will review your financial documents. And again, this process is pretty standard anywhere in the US, not just at Kent State. So once the financials are reviewed by the office and everything looks good and there's sufficient funding, we will go ahead and issue this certificate of eligibility, or Form I-20. And this Form I-20 is an immigration document that allows you to apply for a student visa. So we send you your I-20, your admission letter, and a welcome packet from Kent State that kind of lets you know about orientation, what to pack, what to prepare for, and you use your I-20 and your admission letter to schedule an appointment for a visa interview. And right now, because of COVID, a lot of consulates are also accepting electronic versions of I-20s. Since mail can be delayed. And of course, right now too, some consulates are still not open, or some are only processing emergency and student visas, but we're hoping things get a little bit easier. So that's kind of the process, is once you get your packet, then you're able to obtain your visa, and then you're able to come to the United States to pursue your education. And so this is all for my presentation today. I hope you found it useful. I will now go ahead and address any questions that come in the chat, and please feel free to continue posting questions on the chat. We do have a little bit of time, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. This is my email address, and also feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We have a lot of different events and great content where we share information for our international students and our prospective students. So I will go now to the chat. And you can still hear me okay, Zainab?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. So one of the questions that we have is, I can't remember if I should start from the top, is how long does it take for the application process? So once you apply and you submit a completed file, it can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months at the master's and PhD level to get an admission decision. This is in general, you know, in the United States. And 2 weeks is usually pretty standard. 3 weeks is pretty standard. Some programs, especially programs at the PhD level, may take a little bit longer because they might review once a year or twice a year, but not on a rolling basis. What is the minimum SAT score for Kent State University? So for international students, we actually do not require SAT. It's optional. So if you have it, it's great. It's not going to hurt your application. It will help your application. And if you don't, it's also not going to hurt you. Especially now with COVID, definitely we do not accept SAT. However, for scholarships, we do have some scholarships through our honors college. They may require SAT in the future after COVID. Right now, them too, this year, because of COVID, they did not require it. So typically, to be competitive for a scholarship, you will need about a 1260 SAT score. But for admission, you do not need an SAT. Is there any possibility to apply for a PhD degree without master's degree graduation? Yes, so there are some programs that will allow you to apply for a PhD with just a bachelor's degree. And also, I'm not sure if you're asking, like, can you, maybe you're currently in a master's and you will finish it, but you want to apply now for a PhD before you finish your master's. That too you can do. Actually, we recommend whether you're a high school student, whether you're finishing your bachelor's degree or your master's degree, we recommend that you apply before you graduate. So in the United States, you should apply before your last year ends. To be admitted. Don't wait until after you graduate because it might be a little bit late and you might have to wait until the next term. But yeah, some programs we have some computer science programs, some psychology and sociology programs that allow you without a master's to go straight to the PhD. Does Kent State University require an essay? So if you're a bachelor's student, we do not require an essay. If you are applying for a master's or a PhD program, you are required to submit an essay or what we call a statement of purpose. We also have some programs who require a writing sample. In addition to the essay, they want to see maybe a research paper that you did for class. They want to see a copy of that to see how your research writing is. So at the graduate level, absolutely, all of our programs require a statement of purpose or a goal statement, which is typically 1 to 2 pages. Another question, these are all great questions. Do you offer MBA program? Yes, so we absolutely offer a few MBA programs that are options. So we have an MBA program that is 1 year only, so it's accelerated, and the 1 year is the full year. So you take classes in the fall, you take classes in the spring, and you take classes in the summer in order to finish in that 12-month. We also have another MBA for students who maybe don't want such an intensive program that's more of 2 years or 1.5 years. And that one, you get the summer off. So you're not required to study in the summer, and it's a little bit of a lighter load. And then we have an executive MBA. So the executive MBA is the only one that requires work experience, but our regular MBA program, which is 1 year or the 2-year program, does not require work experience at all. It helps if you have it. Once again, it makes your application stronger, but there is no minimum requirement for work experience. We also have students who go straight from their bachelor's degree to the MBA program without work experience. And you're able to gain that work experience if you do an internship or after you graduate from the MBA program. Another question that we have is, are there any OPT opportunities? If yes, is it for 9 months or longer? So we definitely offer many OPT opportunities for students. And typically the minimum for us is 12 months. So 1 year, 1 full year, where you're able to work anywhere in the United States and get paid. So you don't have to remain in Ohio. Of course, you're welcome to. And then it depends on also what your subject of study, what your major is. So the minimum that we offer is 12 month OPT. But if you are in STEM fields, so some programs in engineering, some programs in math, science, technology, all of that, you know, cybersecurity, computer science, artificial intelligence, any STEM fields, you are actually eligible for up to 3 years. So you can extend your 1 year work permit for another year and another year because you are from high demand STEM fields where they need a lot of people. Especially, we get a lot of students that are international working at Google and Apple and Amazon because they're engineers and they need a lot of those people to work longer with them. And we help you with your OPT application as well. And we do a lot of different workshops throughout the year to help you think about that. Do you have any partner companies for internship support? Yes, we do. We have a lot of different partnerships with a lot of local businesses. So we have a lot of different big businesses such as Smuckers, a lot of banks, Victoria's Secret, Ernst & Young, a lot of big public accounting firms, etc. And we do offer a lot of internships and job placements as well as career fairs. So twice a semester, we organize a big job fair on campus where we bring all the employers in the area and even outside of the area to come meet with students as well. So definitely a lot of opportunities for employment as well as internship. And a lot of the internships that you can be placed on are actually paid internships. So there are some internships that you can do while being in school, and there are some internship that you can actually do where that whole semester you're actually doing the internship only and not so much taking classes. So it really depends on the program. We have another question is, does the master's program include internship? So the master program really depends. So it depends on what subjects you do. There are some of our master's program that have an internship component that you must do in order to graduate. Then there are some other programs where they will help you if you're interested in getting an internship, but it's not required for graduation. With our international students, sometimes maybe they're not interested in doing an internship and they want to go home, or sometimes they're having a hard time. They're kind of not sure about an internship. We try to work with them so they're not graduating because they didn't find placement or they didn't want to do it. So it really depends on your program. Some programs do have that requirement where you cannot graduate without an internship. Okay, another great question. How many credits max can we get per semester for a master's program? So for a master's program, you typically should take 8 to 9 credit hours per semester. So 8 to 9 credit hours per semester usually is about 3 courses. So 3 classes per semester is what we recommend. We really do not recommend for master's and doctoral students to take more than that. At least not at first, just to make sure that they're able to keep up. So typically 3 courses is what we recommend for students. For immigration purposes, you do have to be full-time. So in order to be full-time at Kent State, you need to enroll for 8 credits, but most of our students do 9 credits for the most time, which is 3 courses. Okay. Oh, I see Nikati here. Thank you. Great comment. So Nikati says that he believes that Turkish students will enjoy studying at Kent State University. Great. So it looks, I'm just going to check the chat again. It looks like we've addressed all questions.
Yes, Salma, thank you for your answers. I think you covered all of the questions.
Sounds good. So thank you all for joining us. This was really, really interesting. I hope you learned a little bit from it, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll put my email again in the chat for you to have. And thank you again, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Yes, Salma, thank you very much for your great presentation. We believe it was a really informative webinar for the attendees. And I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Kent State University ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için Salman'ın paylaşmış olduğu mail adresinden iletişime geçebilirsiniz. Yarınki webinarlarımızda görüşmek üzere. Thank you again, Salma. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.